Hello and a warm welcome to the TNC Podcast. It's your go-to Norwich City listen. Yet more terrible happenings for the Canaries in the last week. Chris, good to see you. Are you well?
I'd say it's good to see you, but it kind of does feel like I'm turning up for a counselling session now. Like, it really does.
Yeah.
It's dismal.
It is.
It's dire. It's distressing. And I'm absolutely fed up of it.
Look, plenty to get through on this week's show. The
So
latest
much.
defeat, 3-1 defeat at the hands of Blackburn Rovers. We've seen the Norwich City accounts come out. We'll dissect a little bit of that, the feeling amongst the fan base at Carrow Road, outside of Carrow Road, a league debut for Jaden Warner that we'll get into. What's the latest with David Wagner? What's the latest with Stuart Webber? The incoming Ben Knapper? There's questions around the Atanasios and their involvement. We'll get into that as well. And then, of course, a look ahead to the final game before the latest international break against Cardiff.
And there's no questions this week. They're only rants.
Yes.
And there's 99 of them, by the way.
Yeah.
So there you go. It's going to be tasty.
Let's get straight into it, Chris. And I think, do you want to start with on-pitch happenings? Or...
I think, yeah, I think so.
So
it won't take too long, though, I guess, because it's what we've seen.
Well, this is the thing.
For so many games now.
This is the thing, and scarily, the performance in which we saw against Blackburn Rovers, I'm not even sure is the biggest issue at the moment. I think there's far greater issues. Look, Sunday midday on Sky Sports, I must admit, and this is probably delusion. Going into my head, I'm going, right, we're up against the Blackburn side who are, I don't know what they were, 14th in the table, something like that. An injury list somehow longer than ours.
Yeah.
Basically playing a second string side. Issues of their own, I think it's fair to say, at Blackburn. Look, very well drilled and well coached, but certainly not a standout championship side. I'm thinking, okay, this really is now last chance for David Wagner. The players are on national television. They won't want to embarrass themselves. Former Norwich City players watching as pundits, they certainly won't want to embarrass themselves in front of those guys. And actually, what was served up was nothing short of disgraceful. And I don't say that lightly. I think, the last month, the Leeds performance had glimpses of goodness, but
I agree.
We still failed to defeat.
Yeah.
The performance to Middlesbrough was pathetic. The showing at Sunderland again had glimpses, but
not really though, did it? Let's be
in
honest.
large parts was disgraceful. I thought this was the worst of all of them. I was
Really?
utterly bemused at what we were trying to do. I thought there was maybe one.
Well, I think so were the players.
I think there were maybe one or two players that can come out of that with any type of credit. The rest can truly hang their heads in shame. And I know some of those players won't be liking what they're hearing, but they need to take some sort of responsibility. I keep hearing that they feel like they've let David Wagner down. Yeah, they have. Absolutely, they have.
Do you know what though, Jack? I agree, but I'll add something else onto this. They're letting themselves down.
Of course they are.
You said it. That game was live on Sky. The nation was watching. The nation's football fans were watching, and we were an absolute laughingstock. I cannot comprehend. Like the messaging in the week was, we're aggressive. We're being aggressive. All right, we'll show some aggression then. Show some aggression. In the opening 30 seconds, I want you to take a player up from behind, and then when he gets up, I want you to push him over and get a yellow card. I do. That's what I want. Show some passion, show some fucking fight, and show those fans that you care. Because, and I know that sounds cheap. I know that the players care, but
I don't know if they do.
No, they do,
no,
Jack. Well, look, okay.
I don't know if they do.
What I can assure you of is there is a good group that do care.
I think there's a difference between care and I think
show the fans that, because, and we're going to go into this in detail, Jack. The atmosphere was scary.
Oh, wait.
The atmosphere was actually like a weird warped dream. Like, that wasn't Carol Rose.
It was really surreal, and I think, we've been in this situation in terms of the vast majority of fans wanting a certain manager out. We had it this time last year with Dean Smith, but there was definitely apathy during points of Dean Smith's tenure. But I remember the final few games of his reign at Norwich City, and it certainly wasn't the atmosphere that we had at the weekend. It was deathly silent.
Well,
it was really, really strange.
Under Smith, it was anger, absolutely. But yeah, I think there's. I don't think anyone can argue that what we saw against Blackburn was apathy. I must admit, I was expecting it to be, and obviously I'm not encouraging it, certainly I don't want it to be toxic, but I was fully expecting it to turn toxic when they inevitably put the first two past us. I was thinking, bloomin' heck, this could get worse here. And then when the third went in, it was all like, it actually just went quiet.
It did. It was really strange.
Like, people band around the phrase, oh, it was like a morgue, or it was like a funeral, or da-da-da-da. It really was.
And because it was at the other end to the away fans, and the angle in which it went in, I don't think the Blackburn fans realised for a few seconds that it hit the back of the net. And I think they were waiting for the Norwich and Peterborough end to kind of erupt in this, distaste towards what they're seeing. And actually, there was nothing. Yep. I think let's.
How can you prepare all week long saying that you're going to be aggressive and be 2 goals behind after 16 minutes? It's completely unacceptable, and it's also unacceptable the amount of times I've come on this podcast saying it's unacceptable. That's unacceptable. I cannot believe it. 2 goals down after 16 minutes. The defence is a horror show. It's a horror show. And do you know, and I want to go, you mentioned here, there's only a couple of players that come out of that game with praise. It'd be interesting to see if you've got the same too, Jack. Jayden Warner, making his league debut. Good on you, Jayden. You did everything you could, mate. And Kenny McLean. And I'll tell you the reasons why. Do you agree or disagree on Kenny?
I agree on the most part, yeah.
Okay. Well, for me, Jayden makes his league debut in what will be the most uncomfortable game of probably his career.
Yeah.
Certainly so far. And had to do the job of probably 3 defenders in certain spells of that opening sort of 45 minutes. And Kenny was a centre-back for the majority of the game, and we'll go on to Danny Bart, I'm sure. But I'm thinking to myself, I'm sitting there and I'm watching it, Jack, and I'm looking at the body language of these players. And Kenny was one of maybe 2 or 3 in that first half that was showing for the ball, that wanted it. And it felt like the players that had the ball were playing hot potato. Oh, I don't want it, get away from me. That's what it felt like. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. I genuinely don't think I'm being dramatic here. And I was really, I felt sorry for Jayden, I felt sorry for Kenny, because they were doing the job of, if it's not 2, 3 players during some spells, being dragged out of position. But aside from that, as you say, Jack, I truly do think the others can hang their heads in shame.
Yeah, I think, pleased for Jayden Warner. I saw him at Fulham in the Cup, thought he was decent that night, thought he was, there wasn't the perfect performance, but I think clearly a talented young player in there.
Yeah.
I thought Kellen Fisher, despite, he came on late and was playing against 10 men, looked better than I thought he did against Sunderland. Kenny McLean, I think some fans would say to you, Chris, I've heard enough of him talking. I want to see on-pitch performances now. I think Kenny's got in a really difficult position. And we'll get on to Wagner shortly. I mean, that team, I don't believe that they're playing for the manager anymore, and I know that's cliche. There is absolutely no plan. I think it was the perfect picture of the state, not only on the pitch but off the pitch we're in, that for the final half an hour of our game, our defensive line was Premeswar Poheta at left back, a central defensive pairing of Kenny McLean and Jayden Warner and Kellen Fisher at right back. I mean, if I told you that in May or June when we were preparing for this season, I'd say, Chris, after 12 games we'll be 17th in the division, or however many games
I would
we
love
played.
to you. And
that defence, you'd go, you need to lay off the Lakens.
Yeah. Absolutely, mate.
I think look, I don't want to come on here and start singling players out, because I think a lot of the time that's unfair, and I've regretted doing it in the past on occasions.
Here comes the but.
But I am going to single someone out here. I'm going to single out Shane Duffy, because we signed Shane Duffy with the intention of having experience and leading a defensive line and nurturing those youngsters around him. Well, if I was Jaden Warner, I certainly didn't feel nurtured playing next to Shane Duffy. And I've also heard Shane Duffy, particularly after the Plymouth game in which we lost 6-2, saying we need to stop conceding cheap goals. Well, actually, if we watch back that game, he was the sole reason for conceding such sloppy goals. His positioning and the complete lack of trying to get back for the second goal was embarrassing. And you watched him for that first goal, Chris. I mean, it was under 12 stuff. David Wagner can only do so much, and I don't think he is doing enough, and I think he's completely lost any sense of cohesion with this team. But Danny Bart must be sitting on that bench going, what on earth does he need to do more for me to get out of this side? We chatted to Dean Ashton on the show last week in terms of, he's a striker and he's hoping that, to win the game still, but he's hoping that his colleagues aren't outperforming him. Well, Shane Duffy, I've defended you at times on this podcast this season. I can't do it any longer. I thought it was one of the most disgusting individual performances I've seen anyone put in a Norwich shirt for a very long time. It was shameful.
I wish I could defend him, but I can't. As you say, it was definitely the root cause of all 3 goals. Had to then be hooked off. I'm surprised that... Well, actually, no, I'm not surprised, which is sad in itself, that David Wagner started him. I think for a player of that experience that's played for the clubs that he's played for, I was so disappointed with his performance. And of course, as I always say, he'll know that. I just cannot believe the amount of individual mistakes that he's made. And by the way, this isn't just a Shane Duffy part on Jack. To be clear, don't get me wrong. I
thought Dimi Yanulis was shameful. I thought Shane Long, he'd probably do a better job in goal than George Long. I thought, we were warned about this as well.
The thing is though, mate, that I do want to say, you highlighted it, for the second goal, it wasn't just Duffy, it was a few of the lads actually. They were jogging back.
Trotting.
It was barely a jog. I'm thinking, bloody hell, boys, you're out of position.
Yeah, I agree.
What?
Yeah, I agree.
And it just makes me think, Jack, is the confidence that low? Yeah, but... it just appeared as though when Shane Duffy went to make that aggressive tackle, which I do like actually, him and Gibbo, when they go high and they try and get there early, but with that comes risk, because if you don't make that tackle, there's a great big gaping hole behind you, my boy. And if your team aren't confident to come and back you up, or aren't organised to come and back you up, you're in a whole heap of shit.
I think it's. I don't think you look. Clearly, they are very low on confidence, as you would be if you've won one in.
But I think they're confused. I don't. Who's telling these boys how to defend at the moment?
Well, it's confusion, but you can't blame lack of effort, which I perceive certain players to be at the moment, through low confidence. You're only going to regain confidence through winning games, and that comes through effort and cohesion. Look, players aside, we've got issues there. We know that, okay? And that's one part of this package that we need to unpick. Let's take a look at David Wagner. It was 1 win in 11 at the end of last season. We finished 13th. It's now 1 win in 11 in all competitions, I want to say. Whatever the case, he needs to be really thankful that he's still in employment, because I genuinely
I think he knows he's lucky. I think he knows that he's a lucky boy to be in this job. And let's be frank. If he wasn't Stuart's old connection, I would be stunned if he was in this job in any other club. I really would. The result, but you know what, Jack? It's not even I know it's a results-based business, but it's also the performances. And I was of the opinion, and I've changed my mind on this, which I think is okay, by the way. I used to be, especially when we first got Dean Smith in, I was like, I don't care about performances. Just win games of football, yeah? By hook or by crook, win those games of football. But it's not just the results, it's the dire performances. It's the complete incohesion between sets of players, the defensive shape, toothless up top, set pieces. I could go on and on and on and on. And so, I do think David's a lucky boy. I think, we all know that the writing's on the wall. But again, as I've said on other bits of media, this podcast and the scrimmage as well, I really, really like David Wagner. I think he's a great guy. I think he really cares about this football club, but he has found himself at a club at the end of a cycle, and it's not even just like the end of a cycle. It's a crash bang wallop end of a cycle, isn't it? Like, it's like one of those space rockets that comes into land, and the parachute's meant to go off, and then it's meant to land in the water, but instead our parachute hasn't gone off, and we're having to crash into the land somewhere, and Knapper's going to have to pick up the pieces to try to fumble it together and botch it together, but to get this team to survive, and that scares the living daylights out of me. Sorry, I don't want to go off topic with David, but I just want to say again, I'm so sorry for dismissing what you said about relegation being a danger this season. And I hate to admit it to you, but I look at the way that we're playing, Jack, and there is no doubt in my mind that we are candidates for relegation right now. And this is why we cannot continue to turn like the Titanic. Well, this club is taking too long to make essential change. We are crashing and burning.
This is the scary thing, Chris, because I think in previous campaigns where we've struggled in the Championship, you get to a certain point and you go, right, okay, let's forget about this season and let's try and build for next season. And when you're 9th or 10th, as we have been under Alan Irvine or Alex Neil, whoever it may be, Daniel Farker even in his first season, you can get away with doing that. You can't do that this season. Norwich, if you look at the last 10 games, are the second worst team in the division. We've won 1 in 10. We're being outscored by everyone in terms of the goals we're conceding, This is real. This is very real. If Rotherham win their game in hand, and we know that's against, they'll be 4 points behind us. You've got a Huddersfield side managed by Darren Moore, I think very capable at this level. I think Norwich are lucky that there are probably 3 worse teams in this division, but please don't think that a team like Norwich won't get relegated. We've seen it happen before. You look at Derby County, you look at Sunderland, you go further back with Portsmouth, etc. Big clubs can get relegated from the Championship. And if Norwich City continue on this trend and we extrapolate the form of the last 10 games across the rest of the season, we will be in League One next season. And I'm not saying that for titles or clickbait. The reason I predicted, Chris, that Norwich would finish, and I said mid-table at the start of this season, I was looking at a few different factors. 1 win in 11 at the end of last season, no managerial change. We've let go of Max Aarons, Big Andy, Timu Pukki. Maybe even add Tim Krul to that list, a core of players.
Yeah.
And we've replaced them with, I quite like the addition of Stacey. Duffy, wasn't fussed about. He's turned into a car crash in the last couple of weeks. There were players in there that I thought were okay and the experience I think we needed. But the team was no better than last season. I'd say it was worse. So why are we suddenly... And I was reading Zoe Webber's programme notes. She said that the aim of this season is promotion. Well, automatics is definitely gone.
Of course.
We are nowhere near the level to challenge for the top 6.
No.
But where's that target coming from? Is it coming from the fact that we still have an extortionate wage budget?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you're just, because you're spending an average of 25k a week on wages, doesn't mean you're justified to just be sat in the top 6.
And that's what
This is an incredibly average Championship team.
And this is what makes it more scary. And I'm actually not going to spend any time on it now, Jack. But I would absolutely encourage anyone watching and listening to this now to head over to Jack's video with Kieran Maguire and the financial breakdown and the wages being spent and the interest and all of that stuff, which I mean, I guess we'll talk about ownership and the board at some stage, Jack. I don't know if we want to do that now or not, but the financials, my point is the financials make this even worse.
Yeah.
We've put all of our chips on red, and what we're currently doing is that really ridiculous tactic when you can do it if you've got loads of money. So if you put £20 on red and it doesn't, by the way, don't gamble responsibly, etc., etc. If you put £20 on red and it doesn't come in, put £40 on red. Yeah, don't worry if it doesn't come in. Put £80 on red, doesn't come in, etc., etc. But you can only do that if you've got a lot of money to burn in the bank, right? And Norwich don't have that. It's a very risky game that we've played, and it's a gamble that has not paid off this season. And do you know what, Jack, as well? Like, I'm hearing the opinion of, oh, look, scrap this season. Just don't, let's just not bother anymore. Let's just regroup. Seriously? We need to fucking get our asses in gear. We're knocking on the door of League One. Wake up.
The squad is where it's at. We know that David Wagner's time at this football club is limited. It would be remiss for us not to discuss Stuart Webber.
Yeah.
He wasn't in attendance against Blackburn Rovers. I believe that was the same in our game against Middlesbrough.
Yeah.
We know that his time again at the football club is coming to an end. He said he will leave when his current contract is up, and that's in March. Ben Knapper comes in at the end of November. There is a handover period of sorts. I believe you've spoken to the club, and you might be able to provide a little bit more clarity on what the next few weeks / months look like.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think what I would start by saying is I think there was a fear amongst supporters, for whatever their reasons, that the ship was being steered by Stuart and will continue to be steered whilst Ben tucks himself in, should we say. That's not the case. Ben Knapper is in control of
when he arrives,
of how absolutely of when of how long Stuart's notice period is. So it could be days, it could be weeks, of course it could be months, but that's entirely up to Ben Knapper. The other thing I do want to say as well is that I do understand that of course the club are speaking to Ben Knapper as we speak. He's not in Barbados with his feet up, sipping on his Laken's cocktail, right? Obviously they're speaking to Ben Knapper about the current situation, and yeah, as I say, as I understand it, Stuart's handover will be a short one, and I highly doubt that he'll be hanging around until March. Which whatever your opinion is, whether you think it's a good thing that he's handing over or not, that's currently the state of play.
I think the issue that riled fans and annoyed myself, Chris, was the fact that he wasn't in attendance. Now, we understand that he was in another country. We don't know the reasons for that. It may well be work related. It probably was work related. But the optics and the look of this isn't a good one. You have things crashing and burning around you, and you are not in attendance for that game. For me, just looks horrendous.
Yeah, I giggled to myself, to be honest with you, because I was, thanks to Steve Collins of Azoth Solutions, I was invited into the director's box for the game against Blackburn. Not by the club. I just need to reaffirm for all the conspiracy theorists that for some reason think I'm in bed with Delia.
By the way, the comments from myself, maybe from you, certainly scraps us off the Christmas card list from Norwich City at the moment.
If anyone thinks we're in bed with the club after this, I've got no hope for you. I'm sorry. Anyway, I did smile to myself because, obviously you can hear the chants from the director's box, and I'm listening to the chant. It was something about Webber and something off, and of course he's not even there.
He has quite literally fucked off.
He's not even there. So it was almost like a wasted effort even singing that. But yeah, no, I mean, look, think what you want about him being present or not. But as we know, he started to cut back in certain ways for a period of time now. So I think that's the kind of thing where when you're in a crisis like we are, you're going to go, oh, he didn't even turn up. But actually, during the good times, there were periods where he didn't turn up too. And I don't want to be seen as, and I'm certainly not siding with him, because if it was me, I would be turning up. Without a shadow of a doubt. But we don't know at the moment the reasons for him not being there. But then what was the one that I thought was a bit wacky was, why was he at Manchester United but not at Norwich on Sunday? For me, I was like, well, you're gonna get papped at Man United, surely. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know.
I think for me, it's a really poor look. I think the whole reason I fell in love with Stuart Webber at the beginning of this was he owned up to mistakes. He was honest. He was incredibly transparent with the way that we were operating. And when the going has got tough, he has got out of the limelight. And the whole kind of ignore the noise mantra and that, I think is now completely irrelevant. He's not facing up to the issues that he and others have caused at the football club. And it doesn't help his argument when he spoke to the Times, a year ago, 10 months ago. He said, 90% of his capacity and his time is committed to Norwich City. He's paid handsomely at the football club. For me, and I might be wrong, I don't speak to Stuart on a daily basis. I haven't spoken to Stuart for a very long time. For me, looking at that, I'm going, you're checked out, but you're still on the payroll and you're still responsible for the decision making in the football club. Not a good look.
I think that he has still been working hard behind the scenes on things that won't really show lots of fruit for a wee while, to be honest with you. That's what I think. But unfortunately, in his situation, fans cannot and will not accept that, and I understand the reasons for them being like that. I do. Look, it is what it is. It's done. It's like with Wagner. It's done. With Stuart, it's done. We are at the end of a cycle. It's time for change. It's time to move on. It's time for a clean slate. And as I've said there, and it's worth saying as well, Stuart's last game at Carrow will be the QPR at home game, I've been told. So for the fans that want that,
may well have been Leeds, because he hasn't been here for the last two.
Okay. I think there's probably a lot of things behind the scenes that aren't able to be communicated because of the climate that we're in with regards to what he is doing, as well as not turning up to the Blackburn game. That's what I think.
Well, Chris, I mean, quite evidently lots going on at the football club. As you say, the work currently ongoing / the work not being done at the moment will, I'm sure, show. We'll see the fruits of that in a couple of months' time. What we do know is we do have a new sporting director coming in at the end of this month. I'm getting slightly concerned that
he's got too much in his in tray.
Well,
his desk is alight.
It does feel as if and maybe because as a football fan, you need to veer on the side of optimism. Otherwise, this whole game's completely pointless.
Yeah, I agree.
You need to have something to cling on to.
I agree. Hope's so important.
And at the moment, the hope for Norwich fans is that Knapper's going to come in, much like Stuart did when he inherited, a club in desperate need back in 2017, and it was that things will turn and change, and Knapper's the man. But I'm looking at this and going, maybe I'm just feeling down with Norwich at the moment. But I'm looking at this going, young guy, clearly very shrewd, impressive CV at one of the most elite clubs in world football. Yeah. But at the end of the day, hasn't been in this role before. Mm-hmm. We are pinning the hopes on a man that's never been a sporting director to almost single-handedly change manager, sort financial situations out, spin performances on the pitch,
get the fans believing again, and on side,
oversee a change in ownership and how that looks.
Yeah,
there's a lot going on here, and I'm just looking. I'd love to be. Well, I don't think I would be actually. I would be intrigued to know what's going on inside of the head of Ben Knapper at the moment, because hour by hour this job becomes increasingly more difficult.
It's almost like, it feels like every week another huge problem lands on his desk to sort out. And this is the thing for me, Jack, is it like, normally when you start a new role in any organisation, you turn up to a clean and tidy desk. Yeah.
Fresh laptop.
And and someone shows you like, this is how things work and this is who you speak to about this and that and da-da-da-da-da. But you never turn up to a job normally with the business in a literal crisis saying, it's over to you. Oh, and by the way, it is on you as well, sunshine. Good luck. Off you go. I'd be petrified. I mean, I certainly wouldn't want to be in Ben Knapper's position, without a doubt. I believe that it's a good appointment, and I think he's got the credentials to be successful. But as Zoe put in her programme notes, I think she mentioned, forgive me if I've got this wrong, she's mentioned something about the importance of a stable environment, I think she said. Mate, this is the opposite of a stable environment right now. Seriously, like metaphorically, the place is on fire.
Yeah.
There'll be people inside the club now that are, really worried about their futures. Culturally at the moment, it must be really difficult. I don't want people to go, oh, boo-hoo, they're paid well. Well, that's irrelevant. At the moment, you're walking into a place where it's going to be really down in the dumps. It's going to be a very, very stressful place to be, I suspect. The pressure will be through the roof, arguably at boiling point. A huge amount of pressure. And as you say, Jack, he's not done this before, so I wish Ben Knapper the best of luck. I don't know how he's going to get us out of this mess that we're in, to be honest.
Do you think that the club can almost hide behind the fact that there's change on the horizon with Knapper coming in and Stewart departing for the snail's pace in which they've communicated and operated at in terms of managerial decision making? Because as we've said, no other club in the Championship accepts this type of form with David Wagner. I'm just thinking, if this wasn't on the horizon, change would have been instigated before this.
It feels to me, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but my emotional fan brain says this currently feels a bit selfish to not make this a smoother runway for Ben Knapper. This isn't changing. Actually, it's not even just plateauing, Jack. This is getting worse and worse. And don't get me wrong, there's some games where, it's just a little bit worse, but there's some where it's it's a hell of a drop off a mountain. So, yeah, I can't, as I've said already, if I was Ben Knapper, of course I'd be excited to get my teeth stuck into it. But with the amount of pressure, and the fans, and I think rightly, will expect this team to be doing better. I know that you say, Jack, this team are an average Championship team, but even an average Championship team would be able to shore up at the back. Even an average Championship team would be able to park the bus. Even an average Championship team would at least concede an average amount of goals, or let an average amount of shots on target, or score an average amount of goals, and we're not even doing any of that.
Well, when I say an average team, I think by the very definition I'm expecting a 10th, 11th place finish. Certainly this side has, you look at Gabby Sarah, Johnny Rowe, Kenny McLean, Angus Gunn, Josh Sargent, granted a few of those named haven't featured in the last few weeks because of injury. That team should be nowhere near 17th place.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, this is the thing I can't accept it with the amount of. I think it might. I don't know whether it was Connor Southwell or someone posted it. Just a quick interlude on Connor Southwell. Fantastic post-match reaction pieces at the moment over on the Penkin channel. Go and check those out. And I think he mentioned in the team there's like 9 players that had won the league. There was it was 9 full internationals.
Yeah.
And I think there was like 12 of them that had won the league.
Yeah.
How can you have that calibre of player and be 17th?
Yeah, I agree. I think the alarming thing is
it's negligence.
Is another nugget from Connor's brilliant post-match verdict. I think there's now 11 players that was in the matchday squad over the age of 30. I mean, this is gone are the days of a youthful, exciting, something to prove team. A lot of has-beens in there now, and I think we've tried to veer away from that in previous campaigns. Well, we're not at the moment.
But this is what concerns me more, Jack, because I would expect a young, naive, inexperienced player to go missing in games, to make poor decisions, to not do their defensive work, to play misplaced passes more often than not, to miss good chances. But the experienced lads stand up and be counted.
Yeah, I agree.
I know a lot of them watch this. Boys, seriously, seriously. What is going on? I'm sorry. I don't. I'm aware that I'm coming across as a bit Roy Keane, but take someone out. Show a bit of fight.
Yeah.
We're not even. No one's even tackling. I genuinely. I can't. In eras gone by, when we were losing games, Jack, we used to see like a flying challenge, or Bradley Johnson would just barge someone for the ball, or it's
passive.
It's passive. It's so passive
on and off the pitch. I agree with you, Chris. I think go and check out Connor's stuff. Great shows on the scrimmage. I think when Rob Butler's talking, it's far better. Look, I think there's a nice array of Norwich City media out there at the moment. You will agree with some things we say, you'll disagree. I think if you put all of the different bits together from Paddy and Connor and Rob, and sadly not Michael Bailey so much anymore on Norwich City, you will find the landscape that you'll probably agree on. Let's, with that being said, get on to the Twitter questions.
Rants. They're not questions this week, my friend.
Always love hearing, I think, a wide-ranging, because on Twitter, we're followed by elderly women, young blokes, the whole, from one spectrum to the other, we've got them, and I think piecing that together will form an opinion that's probably balanced, and we are in a mood at the moment that's not good.
And can I just jump on the end of that, Jack, and say, it always happens during these times. Please be assured that Jack and I try so hard to broadcast the consensus of all of the questions being asked of Norwich fans. We really try. Before this, I've got screenshots of posts beforehand. Normally we just frantically scroll through them, and I've screenshotted ones in different areas to try to cover everything. So I just want to assure you that we really do try to speak about everything, and we're certainly not getting cards off the club at the moment.
Well, no, I think it's worth, because I think it's always worth providing context around our stance with the football club. And I think I'm not speaking for the Pink and guys and the Radio Norfolk guys and whoever else who covers the football club. I think we're all in a similar ship at the moment in terms of we say what we see, and if the football club like it, they like it, and if they don't, they don't. I've certainly never, ever cared what the football club think about what I say.
I know that.
That can sometimes be an issue, and you probably wince at some of the things I say. The football club will be, have an opinion, and they will believe they're doing the right thing, as they would, because they're working towards. They're certainly not trying to make bad decisions.
I think that's a good point.
We see a certain thing, and I will say it. With the interviews that we've broadcast on this channel in the past that we've been given access to from the club, we will say, can we have Zoe Webber on the podcast? They can say yes or no. We certainly won't then change our opinions and broadcast in a certain manner to try and forge something out. We've lost plenty of opportunities this season because we've been overly honest.
So there we go.
There you go.
The first question, which I think is very important, particularly with the shambles that is our defence at the moment, is Chris Reynolds says, what is happening with Bart? He can't buy a go at the minute. This smells of a Stuart Webber signing David Wagner didn't want, in my opinion. I mean, if you're Danny Bart now, Jack, I mean, it's just, I cannot believe it.
Yeah, it's baffling. Yeah.
And like obviously we're going to see him against Cardiff alongside Jayden Warner, because Shane Duffy has been suspended, which is probably a good thing to take him out of the limelight for a bit, because he's not performing to anywhere near the standard that we expected this football club. So Danny Bart will feature, but blooming heck, Jack, how have we got to this point where he's only just going to get his start?
Well, we talk about low confidence. I mean, Danny Bart must be absolutely on the floor.
I mean, there's Sunderland fans, sorry to interrupt you, my friend, there's Sunderland fans right now saying we shouldn't have let Danny Bart go. He should be in our team. That speaks volumes to me.
I think it sums up a wider problem we've got at the football club. Recruitment's all over the shop. I think we're confused. Do we sign experience? Do we sign youth? What type of player are we looking at? I mean, it's evident that Wagner doesn't rate him, because if he did, he's not playing a central midfielder over him. He's not playing a 21-year-old over him.
Yeah.
I look at it and
so maybe Chris Reynolds is right.
The recruitment is confused as we are confused in a lot of other areas of the pitch. Look, I don't know if Danny Bart's going to save the day. Again, we're pinning hopes on someone we've not seen a lot of. But the fact, I mean, I read that line the defensive line that we finished with on Saturday. Danny Bart has been put aside for a central midfielder and a youth defender.
And as the saying goes, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And it's insanity. And it's not just the defence, mind, but particularly the defence. What we've continued to insist upon playing is mind-boggling. Next one from Toby Gallant says, who exactly is responsible for sacking Wagner? Likelihood is they need sacking themselves. I'm looking at Delia, and she may be trying to protect the club from shoddy owners, but I'm afraid it's making her a shoddy owner. She must sell up. Fresh start needed. And I want to then add on, Jack, before I come to you here, the criticism that for some reason we receive is that we're in bed with Delia, we get free season tickets and all this absolute. I mean, seriously, I wish one of the most expensive tickets in the league. In fact, it is the most expensive, isn't it? And the shower of shite we're being served up. I wish it was free. Anyway,
to be fair, the offer to the club, if I would reserve my comments on Shane Duffy if it meant a free season ticket.
Right, anyway, the point is, I was particularly passionate about bringing this up, okay, because Delia and Michael Wynne-Jones are not void of criticism.
Oh, absolutely.
And it has become increasingly apparent that, as is the natural course of life, they are getting older, right? And when you get older, things take more time. You maybe lose a bit of oomph, a bit of energy, just natural energy. And it's become very apparent that this is the case, Jack, surely, because things are so slow to move. And Delia and Michael Wynne-Jones aren't void of criticism here, right? Because it feels like at the moment they're around the board table having the meal before and after the game. And I know they'll be hurting. I'm not saying they don't care. A lot of fans think they don't. I do.
Oh, they absolutely
I
care.
know they care. I really do know they care. I can assure you of that. But surely if you're Delia and Michael Wynne-Jones now, you'd be saying, guys, we're 10 games and 1 win.
I think
you've got to step in there.
The issues you raised there are completely valid. My concern comes from a slightly different angle.
Okay.
It is publicly known and known from nuggets that haven't been broadcast that Delia Smith and Michael Wynne-Jones are very fond of Stuart Webber and Zoe Webber. And they are friendly.
Yeah.
And they would class themselves as friends. And I think having a working relationship is really positive and you must get on. I think I'm not denying that fact. But when you're coming out and saying, I think it was either on Jake Humphrey's podcast or another piece of press that Delia did, she said she adores Stuart Webber. You were in no fit state to hold people to account when you have such a relationship with someone like that. And I think we've seen it with managers in the past. I mean, I go back to Nigel Worthington, the relationship that those two had, Chris Hughton. Norwich City, probably barring Daniel Farker, have reacted far too slowly and it's ended up costing us. I look at this board at the moment, Delia Smith, Michael Wynne-Jones, Zoe Webber, Stuart Webber, Neil Adams, the Atanasios that are coming in, and I'm going, who's holding who to account here? There's no longer a Balkett, there's no longer an Ed Ball, someone with some form of they're kind of neutral in that situation. Everyone's friendly, they get on.
Yeah.
Why would they sack David Wagner? They like him, they're friendly. Why would Delia Smith get rid of Stuart Webber and say that you're not doing your job in the correct manner? They're best friends. Who's holding who to account? This is a huge business. Turning over, tens / hundreds of millions of pounds. You can imagine a boardroom where you've got husband and wife, and a former player in Neil Adams that was given a loan manager. Then he was then he was the assistant sporting director. Now he's the technical director. Neil Adams doesn't get out of this lightly as well, because from the outside looking in, it's jobs for mates. That's how I see it. I'd be buzzing if I was Stuart Webber. No one's holding me to account.
I think. God, I don't have a strong defence of that, Jack. I think. I do think there is some challenge, but definitely not enough. And as I've said at least twice in this podcast, we're at the end of a cycle, but not just with perhaps players, with obviously with David Wagner, with Stuart Webber. At board level, we know we're at the end of a cycle too, and that's obviously why we've got the Atanasios, half in, half out at the moment, which is we need to talk about that, by the way. But basically, what we're concluding here is the board do deserve part of the blame here, don't they? Right? It'd be very easy for fans to say, sack David Wagner, Stuart Webber, this and that. But actually, the blame should be shared 100%. to the board level as well, because they've allowed the club to slip to this point.
Yes,
that's fair, isn't it?
Yes, and I think the Atanasios one is an interesting one. Let's talk about the Atanasios.
And the thing that was brilliant from your chat with Kieran Maguire is that it's the interest rates piece interests me. And what concerns me, Jack, is at what point they're not stupid, are they?
No, they're
right.
They're financiers.
At what point do they come and save the day? Because I hope and pray they come and save the day this season somehow. But I don't think it's going to happen.
But in terms of what would you deem saving the day?
Well, what I find interesting is, from a business perspective, Jack, would it almost be better to purchase us at our lowest possible price when we're desperate for money, which, I hate to say it, is League One? I don't know. Am I bad for saying that?
Well, look, we've met the Atanasios, right? And I think we're both of the belief that they're good people.
Yes.
And I think they have clearly run a very shrewd operation with the Milwaukee Brewers, and I think they do care deeply about Norwich City. But they work in the world of finance. They don't care about Norwich City as much as us. The alarming thing from the accounts were Norwich City have essentially loans to repay of £96 million. We are paying £130,000 a week in interest. You're not touching the debt. That's just the interest repayments. So the Atanasios, they're putting their money in. They're being repaid at 7%. Agreed. If Norwich slip into League One, or even just meander between 17th and 15th in the Championship, this doesn't affect the pockets of the Atanasios.
God.
Because we're repaying them. And they will be able to leverage more and more power, more and more control for a cheaper cost. Now, I'm certainly not saying that they're letting this happen, because I don't believe that to be the case. But
although, by the way, if I was them, I'd be getting on a flight to the UK right now, and I would be kicking the door in, and I'd be saying, "You need to sort this out."
I think this is the other thing, and I think I've chatted to people close to the Atanasios. We all have ego, and I think the Atanasios will have ego. They will have peers and colleagues and friends looking at them and going, "Cool, you took over this club or had involvement in this club in the Premier League, and you're now rotting at the bottom end of the Championship. When are you going to take control?"
Yeah, that's true.
I think the hope, if you're a Norwich fan watching this, I think the hope will be that the Atanasios will fly someone in of their own people to sit at this board and start having some adult conversations, because at the moment it's passive, it's jobs for mates. And you cannot function in a sustainable fashion as a football club / high-end business with this board.
Craig says, Soccerbot in charge until the end of the season? I thought I'd just try and make you laugh, Jack. Oh God. Pricey says League One doesn't look too hard to win next year. This is interesting though, Jack. There are a number of these questions where it's a case of if you don't laugh, you'll cry.
Yeah.
We are in a sorry state, and I think as fans at the moment, we probably need to try and make each other laugh a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, there's been a lot of chat of League One. I don't think we will be relegated. I think we do have a good enough squad to turn this around. And look, change will happen soon, and all it takes is 3 wins on the bounce, and suddenly you're going upwards rather than downwards. Mm-hmm. But we do need to have real conversations, and this does need to enter the kind of the where we're at. This is where we're at. We are operating at the very bottom of the Championship table. I think you do need to laugh. Equally, Chris, if you don't have these serious conversations, you do slip into a world where mediocrity is accepted.
Yeah, no, of course.
And I don't want that from my football club.
Well, and that's what scared me about the atmosphere on Sunday, Jack. What used to be the venomous snake pit, and the
full of divorcees.
Yeah. Oh God. Oh God. There's a lot of questions here. Cam, questions urgent, he says. Question A is it acceptable to take a banner with me to Cardiff and reinstate the bedsheet brigade? B, what are we putting on it? Well, Cam, it's entirely up to you what you put on your bed sheets.
There you go. You got me to laugh. Well done.
But I would suspect that you're probably going to write something about the. But what I would say is, it's a complete waste of time now pointing any of this towards David, in my opinion. And I feel so sorry for David Wagner that they are putting him through this.
Do you? I don't.
I think
I
do.
All right. If you
Nick,
walk then. Walk then.
If you're not going to walk away being paid that much money.
Well, that's what I can't feel. You feel sorry for? I
do. No, I do, because he's a good man with his moral compass intact.
I don't think the treatment of Wagner he should have been sacked. Do I feel sorry for a bloke that's not doing his job correctly? No.
Yeah. Look, he is making some poor decisions in terms of in-game management, starting lines, etc. I know that, but from a bloke to bloke, I do just feel sorry for him, and I don't think the board should be putting him through this. That's just my honest opinion. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree.
What else have we got?
Couple of quick fires, Jack. Okay. Simon Duarte says limit of 3 rants isn't enough. Yes, we did ask for only 3 rants when we posted for questions this week on X. A statement from Moleman says, or Moleman, Greg Fairweather is his at handle, says this current team is worse than Glenn Roeder's Lone Army.
I wouldn't go that far.
But no. But Jack, look at the form.
Yeah,
look at the form, my friend.
And
at least they beat Ipswich.
I would say we are certainly. Look, I've been a season ticket holder since 12 years, 20. No, 2010 was my first season ticket. So I certainly haven't been going as long
You're
as you.
You're so unscarred, by the way.
But I was watching this Norwich team in 2009. Obviously, I can't remember a team as bad since that point. It's certainly comparable for sure. There's no doubt about that.
No, it's comparable. I don't think it's worse though.
I was thinking about this the other day, Chris. We've been probably running TNC properly for 7 years.
What are you saying? It wasn't a proper operation until I joined.
Yeah, sort of. This is the lowest league position we've ever covered. We've never been lower than this.
Really?
Yeah, in that time, yeah.
Thank you for announcing that. That makes me feel fantastic.
Well, in terms of, the channel was made in 2012. We were flying at that point. We have never been in this situation since we've been covering the football club, and that is alarming because, God, have we been doing it a long while.
Lee Jones says, question, why am I bothering going to Cardiff away next week? Honestly, if you are, first of all, I applaud you.
Well done.
I think you're an absolute bunch of heroes.
It's a lovely city, Cardiff.
But I also think you're a bunch of lunatics.
No, look, the other fortunate thing Norwich City have, one of the most loyal fan bases in the Championship.
Yeah.
I know loads of people going up to going to the Welsh capital, and I certainly wouldn't be doing it. I think I already know. Well, I already feel like I know the outcome of the game. I think we'll huff and we'll puff for the opening 10 minutes and probably go on to lose 2 or 3-0. The writing's on the wall, Chris, and I said this to Craig while you were eating your prawn sandwiches. I said that the most frustrating thing about this is if we win, we draw, or we lose, the outcome of all of this feels the same. And that's a really alarming position to be in. If we win, we still know Wagner's going to get sacked at some point and this doesn't get turned round. If we draw, who cares? And if we were all expecting to lose, we're in the same position as we were post Middlesbrough, post Sunderland. The situation hasn't changed, and it won't change until wholesale changes are made.
Well, it is changing, Jack. It's getting worse week by week.
Okay, yeah, no, that's a fair assessment.
Please, if you're watching this, I know that people on the exec board do watch this. Trust me. Please keep trying and try harder to sort this out. Please. And I know that, a few of the lads watch this too. Bloody hell, boys. Please give those fans going to Cardiff something, please. At very best, park the bus and make sure you don't concede in the first 15 minutes, please. We cannot go 2-0 down again after 16 minutes. We cannot. And I don't have any... What I'm most alarmed by, selfishly, Jack, at the moment is sometimes I speak to older Norwich fans and they say, I used to be like you, Chris. I used to be so, positive and up for it and we can beat anyone and da. And they said, but trust me, when you're my age, you will be weathered and you will be naturally negative and sceptical. And I have to admit, I'm having it. I'm having just all of that optimism and positivity at the moment just sucked out of me.
Yeah.
Like I try my very best to pluck out a positive. Jaden Warner was the positive this week, for example, but that's what concerns me. And how many fans, Jack, are going to seriously say, no, now really, enough is enough now. Enough is enough. I'm having my pants pulled down. A price of a season ticket in the lower Barclays, £500+. You're having your pants pulled down. You really are.
Yeah. Norwich fans shouldn't be taken for granted.
I want to believe, I want to hope, but it's being sapped out of us at the moment.
I think we'll be here back next Monday. Norwich City will have played Cardiff. They will be entering an international break. We'll be a week closer to seeing Ben Knapper arrive at the football club. One would hope by that time we have a bit more clarity around what the roadmap looks like for Norwich over the past few months. I don't know what my message to Norwich fans would be. I would, stick in there, question decision making.
Well, they are, but it is just a case of just hang on in there, isn't it? Right?
Yeah.
Because we have nothing positive to share with the Norwich fan. There is really nothing positive, is there? Really, there is nothing.
No, and I take no enjoyment from doing that whatsoever. And I think if you're a player who's been offended by what I've said on here or on Twitter, prove me wrong. I want to see you succeed. Prove me wrong. Don't get angry because I've tweeted something that you don't like. Show me on the pitch. I want to be proved wrong. Do something.
Please.
Chris, good to see you. That was fun.
It wasn't fun. Please win! Win!
Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll be back again next week. If you haven't already, check out...
I might not be back next week.
Check out the chat with Kieran Maguire. Also head over, listen to The Scrimmage on BBC Radio Norfolk if you aren't bored of Chris. Yeah. Thanks very much, everyone. Bye-bye.